Hello, I am dual casting, so I'm on the Instagram and I'm on the Facebook, and I'm going to be answering all of your questions on period cups. So, quick disclaimer. If we are related, if you are one of my coworkers and you happen to see Sarah Small jump on live and you don't want to hear about period cups, then it might not be the best place for you to stay. If you are male, and you are here because you want to be more informed and educated on what is going on in the women in your life, then please stay. I would love for you to stay, and I would love for you to understand more about the female body. Otherwise, ladies, you are all welcome to stick around and listen. So let me know you're here. How are you guys doing this Sunday? I posted on Instagram yesterday, 2 days ago, and I was holding my period cup, which I will take out of it. It comes in this little bag. And I asked you guys what questions you have. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna answer a bunch of those questions, but if you have any other questions, please let me know, okay? So now I gotta pull up these questions. First question is it comfortable? And do you need to empty it midday? I personally find it to be very comfortable. And yes, absolutely, I do empty it. So you should expect, depending on your flow, to empty it 2 to 4 times a day. I'm more on the 2 side because I don't have a very heavy cycle, but depending on your cycle, you may want to empty it more. This is the lunette cup, and it actually had a third like little rung here. So this part was a little bit longer, and that was uncomfortable for me and my body at first. They make it a little bit longer, so in case you're nervous that you won't be able to reach it or something, there's this little point that you can connect your fingers to. Now, I felt like that was actually like sticking out and I could feel that part, so I just took some scissors and chopped it, so it's a little bit shorter now. So that made it more comfortable for me. Do you need to empty it midday? Yes, 2 to 4 times a day is pretty normal. You can really bring your intuition into this on how many times that you feel like you want to empty it. And you can notice, so there's some lines here as well. And so based on the level, and there's lines down here too. And if you see, like, you can actually measure how much of a flow you're having, and if you notice after like 6 hours that you're filling the cup up a fair amount, then you would empty it more than if you had it for 6 hours, or on lighter days where it's just not filling up as quickly and you can leave it in longer. Awesome. So, on which topic am I talking about? I am talking about period cups today. I should put that Instagram, I wish I could put a headline on there, but I can't. So when you guys jump in and if you're confused, let me know. Next question, how do you know what size and what brand? Okay, so everyone listening over on Instagram, come onto my Facebook group. Come over to Autoimmune Tribe Facebook group, because I am going to put a link into the comments of this video that is a quiz that I just found. So I actually didn't take this quiz when I purchased mine, but I just found it. I think it's super helpful, and it's putacupinit.com/quiz if you're not on Facebook and you still want to use that. And what it allows you to do is take a quiz to figure out what brand is best for you. Now, size, depending on the brand, some brands only have one size. So there in Lunette, there is the model number 1 and model number 2. The difference between them is model number 1 is for more of a light to normal flow, and model number 2 is going to be that normal to heavy flow. And they're all soft, they are pliable, and they are, with Lunette specifically, are made with silicone, but the Model 1 is a softer silicone than the Model 2, okay? So depending on your flow, and then also, again, you're still gonna be able to bend it and everything in Model 2. This is Model 1, just in case you guys are wondering. You'll still be able to bend it with a Model 2, but it's just gonna be a little bit harder silicone. Does that make sense so far? So finding your size, I'm gonna revert and guide you to actually the Lunat website if you have more questions on this. But if you've been pregnant before, if you have kids, they do recommend that you go with model number 2. For teens, model number 1 is a little bit easier to take in and out. Depending on your flow, you pick model number 1, number 2. If you have a low sitting cervix, and some of you actually mentioned this in my post in the comments, so if you have a low sitting cervix, it's better to try the shorter model, which is 1, and that should fit a little bit better. They say if you are a fitness goddess with strong vaginal muscles, that you might also want to try number 1. If you have a sensitive bladder, you may also want to try model number 1. So it really depends on, long story short, your unique body. And I personally love Lunat, and it was the first brand I tried, and it ended up working for me, and so this is what I use. But some of you mentioned this in the comments as well. If you buy a brand, and some of them have money back guarantees actually, so you're not going to return it after using it, but some of these companies will refund you if it ends up it doesn't work for your body. So you might have to experiment and try out a few before you find the one that really fits your unique body, because we're all shaped differently down there, and our bodies are all unique, and our bodies are all different. Next question. So, how do you use it? So, I'm going to show you guys a couple different insertion kind of techniques. And again, this is, I'm going to show you the one that I use, and then there's 2 other suggestions. So, what I do is, I'm going to make sure you can still see me on Facebook. Okay. I squeeze it in half, okay? And then you fold it to make a C, okay? So this is a C shape, and that's not too difficult to do. I mean, my fingers are squeezing pretty hard, but to insert, you would simply fold it in half again, and you make this C shape, okay? And then you would insert this way. The first time that I inserted, it was a little bit challenging. It's different than putting a tampon in, and so I ended up just putting a little bit of coconut oil around the edges to make it a little bit easier. I don't have to do that anymore. Got it down, bam, 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 easy peasy, super fun and easy to do, honestly. I really like doing this now. And part of it is because I get to really see what is happening in my body. I get to feel what's happening in my body, and other products don't necessarily let you do that. So that's the first method. The second method is, what do they call this? The pinch down or shell fold. So what you'll do is you'll simply just pinch one side of the cup down, and then you make this kind of, it's a narrower, that's a hard word today, top or inserting point, right? So you're making a little bit of a thinner top, and you can do it like this as well. So again, that was just your finger comes down, bam, bam, bam. Got it? There's one other that they say you could try if both of those don't work, which is the 7 fold or the triangle fold. And this is going to be more like the number 7. So it's probably going to be backwards to you guys, but this is like the number 7. So it's pretty similar to the C fold versus the 7 fold. It's going to be going down at an angle, okay? And I personally don't use this one because I think it's more comfortable to just fold it in half like this. But if that's too hard to hold on to or anything, you might find it easier to just do that 7 fold, okay? So, or the triangle fold. So there's 3 different ways to fold. And then I'm answering that question, how do you use it? Well, once you have it folded, just like putting in a tampon, you're gonna go into a little bit of your squat position and simply insert. And then once you insert, then you're gonna let go so that the cup then expands. So you don't want it to be inside you like this, because that's not gonna do anything for you, right? There's gonna be a lot of leaking if that happens. So once you release, it should just boop, pop open, okay? And it surrounds the cervix so that it catches any flow, period blood, okay? I have put it in before where it didn't open right away. And I don't know exactly what it looked like because I couldn't see in there, but it just didn't feel completely opened. So I just took my finger and I went around it like this, and then it opened up, okay? And so you could also remove it and try again. It does take a little bit of practicing, but honestly, it becomes very easy over time. That's my experience, at least. But that's the basic way how to use it. And so once it's up in there, you can leave it in for up to 12 hours. Again, emptying 2 to 4 times a day. So you can leave this in overnight, that 12 hours. And you'll start to notice. That's the beautiful thing here is that we get to notice our body. We notice our rhythm. We notice our cycle. We notice whether we have a heavy cycle or a light cycle. Maybe you've never even thought about that before, but now you get to monitor that flow, okay? Any other questions on just the basis of like how to insert and keep in? I'm gonna go through a lot more questions here. Is it messy? Is it sanitary? Is it safe? So is it messy? Yes, if you don't remove it the right way. However, if you remove it in a careful way, careful manner, then it's very, very clean. Much cleaner than using pads or tampons, actually. It's super clean. So that's part of the reason I really like it. So to remove, here it is, up in your lady parts. I personally, this is how I do it. Can you still see me, Facebook? Yes. I go up and I pinch right here, and then I slowly pull down. And the important part in the pinch and pull is keep it upright, ladies. Because if you pull it out like this, you're gonna have a big ass mess. If you pinch and slowly pull out and then keep it upright, it's not messy at all. What was the other part of that question? Is it sanitary? Yes. However, you have to clean it. You have to take care of it, right? Otherwise, it is not sanitary. It depends on if you actually clean it or not. And I can not show you, but I can tell you how to clean it. Is it safe? Absolutely. I will go into one contraindication here in a second as I answer another question, but generally, yes, it's absolutely safe, much safer than the chemicals that you put in your body that are laden in your tampons. So what do you clean it with? Well, you can, so 2 things. Cleaning it during your period, okay? So as I remove it, so again, pinch, pull out, keep upright, dump your flow into the toilet, and then you're gonna have a little bit of residue as well. So then I rinse it with cold water and then wash it with warm water. And actually, Lunette sells, but I'm sure other of these brands also sell, the special cup wash to make it extra squeaky clean. But I would just say don't wash it with a soap that has a bunch of chemicals in it and synthetic fragrances, because then that residue is just going to do potentially just as much damage as chemicals on a tampon would. So I would wash it with a gentle, non-toxic soap or one of the ones that they recommend. And then you can insert it once again. So that's when you're on your period. When your period is over, you can disinfect the cup by putting it into a pot of boiling water or using their disinfecting wipes. I personally don't use the wipes. I just put it into a pot of boiling water, put it in there, disinfect, take it out, and then it's ready for my next cycle, okay? When you are out and about, I had some questions on this as well. So when let's say you're in a public restroom, I know a lot of people get a little freaked out about that. So you could potentially be in a freaking porta potty or a public bathroom stall, take it out, dump it, and then you could, if you had like wipes in your purse, you could just use those disinfecting wipes to disinfect, and then reinsert. I personally just err on the side of like, okay, I know I'm gonna be somewhere for a long time, so I empty my cup right before I leave the house, and then I don't have to empty it the whole time I'm out because you can keep it in for up to 12 hours. And I personally have a lighter flow, so it's not as much of a concern, okay? Any questions about that so far? My cup actually hurts me, so I don't know if it was the brand or the size. So that would be something to experiment with, Angel, is just, number one, like if it was this part, you can always cut that part shorter. Just don't cut it all the way off, so that there's a hole in the bottom. But you can experiment with different brands, different sizes, like you said. You kind of answered your own question. And then also just practicing putting it in. The first time I put it in, it did feel a little bit weird, but my body got used to it. It's just like putting your first tampon in felt really weird. So now putting your first cup in is also going to feel a little bit weird. All right, let's go on to the next question. Does the material give any side effects when in your body for multiple days? So big disclaimer here, this does not stay inside your body for multiple days. You don't keep it in there for multiple days. You keep it in there, 4, 6, 12 hours depending on your flow. So don't keep it in there for multiple days and then you won't have any side effects. If you did, maybe you would have some side effects if your body was sensitive to silicone or the obvious reasons as well. Brushes and Blunts asks, how do you deal with it in public bathrooms? Afraid to try one. So I kind of already answered that question. Bring wipes in your purse or plan ahead. And no, because you can go to the bathroom with it in. You do not have to take it out when you go to the bathroom. So you can leave it in for a while you're out, depending on, maybe you're on a really long trip, then I would definitely bring the wipes. Michelle Lindsay, I tried one a while ago, can't recall the brand, but I had a lot of trouble getting it into place and gave up. Maybe you could share how you got used to using it. Did you have difficulty inserting it? So yes, I mentioned the first time it was weird. It's different. You're like, what am I doing? This is awkward. Why am I doing this? But there's very good reasons to do this. A little bit of coconut oil can help, just like lube, okay? But non-toxic lube, to start to get used to it. And then it becomes, to me, it's just second nature now. It's like boop, boop, out, in, done, super simple. Christy Clark 87 scares me that I won't be able to get it positioned right, and then scared I'll get it stuck and end up needing help removing it. Plus I had a C-section with both my kids and never know what size to get. So there's really not a lot of sizes, you guys. Like you can choose, some brands have like small, medium, large. Lunette has model 1 and model 2. But it's not like you have to like do like your bra where it's like I wear a 36C or a 32A. It's not that complicated. So again, you may need to try multiple brands to find the one that works best for you. I maybe just got lucky and the first brand I tried worked. I hope that happens for you as well. But if not, then you might just try a couple different brands. Going back to Christy's question, scared I'll get it stuck. So you cannot get it stuck, my friend. You can't get it stuck. You could potentially ask for someone to help you take it out that you really trust. But it's yes, it can be a little uncomfortable at first, but this is your body and we get to know it. We get to become intimate with it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So again, a simple pinch and slow pull is all you need to get it out, and it's not going to go and disappear anywhere, right? There's nowhere for it to go, so it's not going to get lodged up somewhere. It's your cervix is teeny tiny, so there's no way that this is going to go up anywhere and get lost in your body. Positioning right, again, make sure it's open, So again, I just took my finger around it and made sure it was like a full circle to make sure it was open. Holistic Happy Place asks, I'm thinking about taking my IUD out. Did you have the copper one or Mirena? Curious how your cycles have changed since you've gotten it taken out. I had the Mirena a long time ago, and I had a very bad reaction to it, and that's actually when I started to get melasma on my face. So I had that taken out after about a year. My gynecologist did not agree with me taking it out, but I intuitively listened to my body, got it taken out. And then just like 2 years ago, I was searching for non-hormonal birth control and having a hard time finding anything except for the copper IUD. So then I had the copper IUD in for about a year before I had that removed as well. So I used the copper and the Mirena. How have my cycles changed since I got it taken out? My cycle came right away. This is so unique to your body. I'm going to answer this question, but I just want you to know it's very unique to your body. Not everyone will get their cycle back right away. I did about 3 to 4 weeks after I had it removed. And by the way, having it removed was way easier than having it put in. And my cycles were actually regular with the copper IUD. I had no cycle with the Mirena IUD, and now I have a regular cycle again without the IUD. Slowmo1129. I love this, and I'm the opposite story. I used a Diva Cup for years, and I love them, but I have endometriosis and got ridiculously sick and was in constant excruciating pain. I got my IUD about a year ago, and it literally saved my life. I swear my body thanks me daily. Funny how the body always knows what's best. Tampons never again either, by the way. So, super happy for this listener that their pain is gone. But I just want to say one word of caution, which is, let me just actually pull up this article so I don't say it incorrectly. I want you guys to know that if you have an IUD and you're using a period cup, regardless of what brand you're using, there is a possibility that the cup can actually dislodge your IUD. So the cup has suction to it, and we know what happens when you suction cup something, right? So potentially that suction can actually dislodge your IUD. And so I just want you to be aware of that, in case anyone is not already aware of that. There's a story here. Someone says, I unfortunately was part of the IUD and menstrual cup are not okay with each other group. My IUD fell out some months after starting to use the period cup. I wanted to have it expulsed. They wanted to have it removed anyway, so that was fine with them, but it was a scary experience. I feel like many OBGYNs don't know enough about the usage of menstrual cups and IUDs, maybe because the number of women using a menstrual cup is still less than the number of women using period accessories. I kind of just pushed out my cup and pulled it a bit and had a weird sensation, and I was about to dump it, but I always check the clot situation. So I took a little peek, and my IUD was just perched on the edge of the cup. If I hadn't checked the cup, I might have flushed the IUD down the toilet without even realizing. I was a little shaken, but more about the fact that it came out than any pain. So again, you could accidentally pull out your IUD. Does that happen to everybody? Absolutely not. IUDs can come out on their own without using the period cup, but I just want you to know that in case anyone was not aware. Okay, where was I with questions? Holistically Hers. Got my IUD out 3 months ago, and it was the best decision I ever made. Now tracking naturally, and I'm able to read and understand my body like never before. How do you get started with using the Diva Cup? How are you confident in using it and knowing there will be no accidents? Maybe I just have no clue how it works. This is a great question. So number one, you gotta plunge yourself into it, like figuratively and literally plunge in, girls. So just try it. Okay, so that's how you get started. You just try it. And you get confident with practice. So try it over and over again. It doesn't have to all be in one day or during one cycle. Maybe you try it for one day of your next cycle, and then you try it for 2 days of your next cycle, etc. Now, as far as the knowing there won't be any accidents, I use Sustain Natural. Organic condoms and organic tampons are in my house, just in case. But I also will occasionally use organic cotton pads, very rarely, because my main go-to is period panties. And Thinx, Thinx, Thinx is a awesome brand that has adorable styles of period panties. So if you're using your cup for the first time and you're nervous and you're like, holy shit, this is crazy, never done this before, then wear the period panties with the cup. And if you have any leaks, then you don't have to worry about it. So super simple. Lexi and Lime, how do you track your cycle naturally and how do you feel confident with that? So I personally use Kindara, Kindara. I think their Instagram is like Kindara Fertility app, maybe. And it's an app, and there's also a thermometer that syncs to your phone. And so I take my temperature, and you can see, you also track through like visual tracking as well of your discharge. And so you can figure out what part of your cycle you were at or on with all these different data points. So I feel confident in that because I do have a regular cycle. Those ladies out there who have an irregular cycle may feel a little less confident in natural tracking of your cycle, but there's so much technology out there now. There's little bracelets that you can wear as well. So there's so many different options. Daisy Fertility is one that's really popular. I like Kindara, but there's a ton out there. Rebecca Aragoni. Gosh, I'm about to go through a similar situation. I got my copper IUD placed last February. And this month, I passed out from blood loss, nutrient loss, and pain. The pain forced me into bed for half of the week. I have an appointment scheduled for removal on Friday, and I'm so ready. My cycles have been irregular postpartum, which has made tracking super difficult, but I'll deal with the irregularity if it means not having crippling pain for half the month. I just wanted to share that one with you. So she's actually not asking a question, but one of the questions I'll get to here in a second is the potential dangers of IUDs. So there is a testimonial right there. She passed out. I'm glad you're okay, Rebecca. Next question, Amber Ham CMT. I had my copper IUD in for 8 terrible years, and the moment I finally had it removed, I immediately felt so much better. I said, fuck yeah. I had a similar reaction. I was like, woo, this is awesome. I have so much relief. After the nurse left the room, I pulled it out of the trash can to look at it, and it was all corroded. That cannot be good for my super precious lady parts. Good riddance, stupid little T. I track my ovulation, and it's exactly spot on every month. Oh, that's another way I track my cycles is I have upstairs pregnancy tests and ovulation tests. So if you're ever like not feeling confident in tracking your cycle, you can use the ovulation strips or the pregnancy test to just make sure everything's good. You feel me? But going back to Amber's fuck yeah experience, so she found it and it was all corroded. So first of all, that's kind of scary, right? Second, when she took mine out, it was like on that tray they bring in with like the sterilized little paper, and then they put all their little tools on it. So she took it out and she just set it on there. And so I peeked at it as I was like putting my clothes back on before I was about to leave. And mine did not look like it was in good shape either. The actual copper wiring on the top part of the T was like starting to like unravel. Really glad that's no longer on my body. Nikki Marie Marshall. I plan to get an IUD when I'm done having kids. My periods are pretty unbearable, severe bleeding and cramping that pretty much keeps me homebound for 3 to 4 days, and then regular bleeding that drags on another 4. I feel like I'm rarely not bleeding. For me, I'm excited about the idea of not getting a period. This is the first I'm hearing about dangers of IUD. Why are they damaging? So if you have that much pain, Nikki, in your periods, I completely understand why it's exciting to not have one. My suggestion to you would be first to try to balance your hormones so that your cycle is not as unbearable. And I know part of that is also, and did you say you have No, you don't have endometriosis. You just have really bad periods. So I would definitely look into working with someone like a hormone coach who can help you balance your hormones so that they aren't so painful. Why are they damaging? Well, so disclaimer, I'm not a medical practitioner, but I can speak to my experience and why I felt it was damaging my body and why I had it removed. And the first is that I was showing signs of excess copper in my body. And copper is a heavy metal. And yes, it's just in one part of your body, but it's affecting your entire system. So my body was showing signs of excess heavy metals, and then there I was putting a heavy metal into my uterus. And then excess heavy metals when you have heavy metals in your body, that can lead to anxiety. And if you have been a follower for a while, I'm sure you've heard me talk about, I have experienced debilitating anxiety. And so it was to the point where I was like, if there's any chance that this thing is creating anxiety, I don't want it in my body anymore. And then copper also creates inflammation in your body, and chronic inflammation is bad, right? We know that. Chronic inflammation leads to disease. So did not want to add that extra inflammation in my body. Yes, zinc, you want a healthy ratio of zinc to copper, but just taking a zinc supplement is not necessarily going to fix the problem. I tried that. And then another sign of copper toxicity is melasma. And, I've talked about that plenty of times, y'all. You guys can see it right there. I've got this mixture of vitiligo and melasma. And so I was, again, reflecting and going, if there's any chance that this copper IUD is making my melasma work, then it's not worth it to me, personally. And this is a completely personal decision. And I wasn't really planning on talking about birth control. I was really just coming on to talk about the period cup. But because you asked, that's kind of how I feel about it, and some of the reasons why I found it to be damaging for my body. And then honestly, one of the biggest things was creatively. So when you have something in your uterus, like your uterus the womb is your creative center, and you are consciously putting a block into that. And it's like, I felt like there wasn't space to energetically birth new ideas into the world, and for me to just like be this creative being when there was something blocking that personally. Again, this is just my personal story. Don't want to push anything on anybody who is not ready for that. Nat cat hypnosis. Ooh, I like that. Nat cat hypnosis. I had a hormone IUD and I had it switched to a copper one because I didn't want the hormones. I've had the copper one for 5 years and it's been great. I've used a moon cup for about 4 years and would never go back. So easy to use, never had any issues with it. Okay, so yeah, that's not a question, but I'm just gonna revert back to that article I just read from, which is those personal testimonials. And there's actually a study as well that shows that the suction of the period cup can dislodge your IUD. So if you're using that moon cup and the IUD, I would just be careful. But that does not mean that everyone is going to have their IUD dislodged. Some people have it dislodged. Depends on your unique anatomy. Art Rita 7. Can you all tell me your thoughts about tampons? And if you don't use the cup, what do you use? So yes, here are 6 toxic ingredients that are in tampons that I personally do not want to have in my body. Rayon is one of them. Dioxin, this chemical is a result of chlorine processing. It's also linked to hormone disruption, and it can affect your immune system. Non-organic cotton, so this would be genetically engineered cotton, and it's designed to be resistant to pesticides and herbicides. And then there can also be a shit ton of pesticides and herbicides sprayed on the cotton that's actually being used for the tampon. So I eat a non-GMO diet. I'm not going to put GMO cotton inside my body, right? A lot of the tampons have fragrance added to them. I love this. This article says fragrance is essentially chemical soup, right? So fragrance is like a really big umbrella word that could be a lot of things, but typically fragrance equals chemical and synthetic fragrances that are in other things like candles and body wash, but I don't use any of that in my life, so I'm also not going to use it on a tampon that I'm putting inside my body. Chlorine. So chlorine is used in the bleaching process to make it white. BPA. BPA is and these are BPA free, disclaimer, but some tampons have BPA, which is a hormone disrupting chemical, comes from producing plastic, and it's been linked to cancer. Many of us drink out of BPA-free water bottles. So it's like if you're drinking out of BPA-free water bottle, then let's also do the BPA-free, cup, or, I mean, there are organic tampons. It's an option, right? So the next part of that question was, what if you don't use the cup, what do you use? So there are organic cotton tampons out there. I like this because it's just way easier to me. It feels better in my body. I have less leaks than I would if I used organic cotton tampon. And then also those Thinks panties. Like, those things are just freaking amazing. I need more, actually. I'll put a link in the Facebook group where to purchase those. And I think you get $10 off if you use my link. So go purchase. They even have like leotard type things. There's like thongs. There's like boy shorts. Whatever you would normally wear or want to wear during your cycle, they've got it. Almost done here. I'm about to have my IUD removed too. This is Erin Lee Locke. But my friend tried the cup on her period and said that she could never take it out without getting blood everywhere, like everywhere. Is that just how it is, or is there a trick to removing it cleanly? So I talked about this in the beginning. Yes, to cleanly remove, pinch, pull out, don't, because we know what's going to happen then. Otherwise, there's no reason for it to get everywhere. It's contained, hold it upright, then dump it out, and I mean, there should not be blood everywhere. Next question, how do you measure your cervix to find the right cup size? I did not measure my cervix because that's a very, very challenging thing to do. But I mean, I guess you could probably get your cervix measured by your, like a nurse practitioner or OBGYN in an medical office setting. However, you don't need to know the size of your cervix to get or use the cup. There are small, medium, large, or in this case, Model 1, Model 2, with slight fluctuations. It's not necessarily one size fits all, but it just takes a little experimenting. And like Lunette does, I'm sure the other brands put on their site, like, okay, have you had kids? Are you a teenager? Do you have a low-sitting cervix? What is your flow like? And then based on your answers to those questions and the quiz that I put in the Facebook group, you should be able to find one that works best for your unique body. Have you heard, Holly B. Nelson, have you heard the story of the baby that was born holding an IUD? No. That's very scary. Terrifying, actually. I would love to know more where that story is from. I have not heard that story, but scary. Alyssa Chantal, is it uncomfortable or painful to insert? So there's a few questions here. I'm just going to answer them one at a time. Is it uncomfortable, painful to insert? No, absolutely not. Not any different than inserting a tampon. What's the mess like? Super clean as long as you remove it carefully. How can you leave it in? Up to 12 hours in the case of Lunette. I'm pretty sure that's what the other brands are. I mean, they're all made out of silicone, so I'm assuming they're all there's differences between them is probably fairly minimal. The shapes and elasticity can differ. Wellness Crafted, that's my girl Saritha. How often do you have to empty it on your heaviest day? Is it easy to take in and out, especially if you have to do so at the workplace? So if you have a private restroom at the workplace, absolutely, you won't have any issues at all. If you have a public like stall at your workplace, then as I mentioned in the beginning, I would either empty it right before you go into work and potentially leave it in the whole time you're at work, or if you need to remove it because it's a heavy day, I would empty it out and then use one of those wipes and then put back in. I have to empty it maybe 3 times on my heaviest day, but I have it usually just 2 because I have a lighter flow. Those are all of your questions. I'm going to check the Facebook group here and see if you have any other questions. I don't think I've seen any on Instagram. I answered Angels on Facebook. I know we've had some men jump in and probably feel uncomfortable. I apologize if you jumped on and you got uncomfortable. But you maybe are now more informed about what us ladies have as options to use with our bodies. I find it really empowering. I think it's super empowering. A friend told me about this and I was honestly scared in the beginning, and I decided to just try it anyways. And something she said was that it was really cool to actually see her blood. And again, I think that maybe it freaks the hell out of some of you, but when you actually do it and you actually see it, it is really cool. And I mean that in like most sincere way. It's really freaking cool. So I encourage you guys to try it. I want to know how it goes. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm not an expert. I'm not a medical practitioner. I just have my personal experience to share, and I want to shed light on this so that some of you may also just have awareness over what you're putting in your body. And we all love our lady parts, so let's keep them safe. Let's keep them protected. Wishing you all the best. Happy Sunday, and I'll see you guys soon.